Guys, today I wanted to tell you a little bit more about my health journey. My whole page is about how I am healing from rheumatoid arthritis with my raw vegan lifestyle. So I wanted to come on here and tell you guys a little bit more about what has led me to the raw vegan diet that I currently live by today and some of the ups and downs that have come along the way. So we will start by looking at the diet that I consumed pretty much my whole life. I was on the standard American diet. My favorite foods were definitely salty foods. I loved French fries and potato chips. I loved anything chocolate. I loved fried foods, fatty foods, processed foods. Pretty much anything that was not healthy was something that I was consuming. I was pretty much known for not liking fruits and vegetables, for not wanting to eat, salads. I wouldn't pretty much eat anything green. So I didn't have a weight issue from the food that I was eating. So I didn't have that particular factor that made me want to look into any sort of healthier eating. So it was really easy for me to make the choices of eating, brownies and potato chips and cookies and processed foods all day because I didn't have the weight issue from it. Unfortunately, I was dealing with a lot of digestion issues. I was dealing with chronic constipation. I also was dealing with some blood in my stools and some other issues. So when I was 19, back in 2012, I went to my doctor and was talking about those issues, and they told me to go and get a colonoscopy. So I went to a specialist and I got my colonoscopy done when I was 19. And when I went to go get my results back, they told me that my colon was super red and super inflamed, but that they didn't find any, polyps or anything, so that I was fine. I was good to go. No worries, don't make any changes. At the time I was 19, I didn't really know to look any deeper into that. So I just went home, didn't do anything, didn't make any changes. Still, had the same digestion issues, the same chronic constipation. About a year later, I was diagnosed with my rheumatoid arthritis, which is an autoimmune disease where your immune system is attacking itself, is what they tell you. And in this case, it's attacking itself in the form of attacking your joints. So I've dealt with a lot of joint inflammation and stiffness and destruction over the last 8 years due to this autoimmune issue that I've been diagnosed with. When I was diagnosed, I was working a full-time job. I was going to school full-time, I was going to the gym, working out, doing what my version of eating healthy was, which was, grilled chicken instead of fried chicken and brown rice instead of white rice and those types of changes. Unfortunately though, when I was diagnosed, it hit me like a train. I went from going full force one day, working full-time, going to school full-time, going to the gym, to waking up one day, all of my joints were swollen to the size of balloons. I couldn't stand up, couldn't walk. And so after my diagnosis, I ended up needing to quit my job, stop going to school. I ended up switching majors and going to school online and changing my job to a less physically challenging job. Stopped going to the gym, stopped doing those things. So my diagnosis definitely changed the whole course of my life that I was on at the time. About a year later is when I met Danny, so that was definitely a highlight along the timeline. It was nice having him there from the beginning. He saw me when, I was still having a lot of issues, having a lot of like limping, having a lot of inflammation, swelling. He saw me get my knees drained a bunch of times, and he went with me at all my doctor's appointments, and he was there with me through all of that. So it was really great having him there with me from the beginning, having that support system there from, 10, 11 months into my diagnosis up until now, 8 years later, has been pretty amazing. The first three to 4 years of my diagnosis, we continued to eat the standard American diet. I was taking all the different medications that were being prescribed to me. I actually, for the first time, sat down and tried to write out the names of the different medications that I remember taking. And I got Emeril, Humira, Actemra, Orencia, Xeljanz, Olumiant, Cimzia, Methotrexate, Prednisone. hydroxychloroquine, naproxen, folic acid, and leflunomide were the medications that I remember taking over the last 8 years. Might have missed out on a few of them, but that is just an example of the different medications that I have been on over the last 8 years. Most of those being in those first 4 years of my diagnosis. I'd say 95% of those being in those first 4 years. By the time we got to 2017 and we had been on the standard American diet and following Western medicine for 4 years, I was in a wheelchair, couldn't stand, couldn't walk, couldn't work. My diagnosis had just gotten worse and worse and led me up to this point where I couldn't really function without Danny. Basically, I was completely dependent on Danny the whole year, like for 8 months out of 2017. So neither of us could work. He was home taking care of me. I was home basically bedridden. And that was when we actually went plant-based. That was when we went to a holistic doctor rather than a Western medicine doctor. And we were told to completely cut out meat and dairy and to cut out gluten and, processed foods and to try to eat a more plant-based diet. So we went home that day, we watched a few documentaries, Forks Over Knives, What the Health, a few other of those plant-based documentaries, and we went cold turkey plant-based the next day, and we stopped eating meat and dairy completely, and we never looked back. Our plant-based journey has kind of fluctuated. When we first started, we didn't really know a lot about what we were doing, and we were what they consider a junk food vegan. We were eating a lot of the processed foods, the Beyond Meats, different processed vegan junk food, basically. Oreos are vegan. So at the beginning, eating a lot of foods like that. We then transferred into a more whole food, plant-based diet, and we were just eating more, trying to incorporate more fruits and vegetables into our diet. Then we focused a lot on being what they call SOS free, which is salt, oil, and sugar free. So for a good few years now, we've been pretty much free of salt, sugar, and oil, which has been nice. And then just in June of 2020 is when we transitioned to a raw vegan diet. And that is where we currently are at and have been for over a year. That whole vegan transition, every time we took a step deeper into it and took a step deeper into eating a healthier, cleaner diet, we noticed more and more improvements in my health, in Danny's health. Our relationship with other people seemed to improve more and more the more we have fine-tuned our diet and lifestyle. When we went vegan in 2017, when I was in my wheelchair, it took about 3 months of plant-based eating for me to be able to start physical therapy, and then about 6 months before I was out of the wheelchair, starting to walk again. Me and Danny were able to start having a little bit more of a normal life again. In 2018, we were able to start working again. We bought our first house and we moved into our first house together. In 2019, we were able to get married. So going to a plant-based diet definitely helped us get our life right back on track and let us continue to live a fulfilled, happy life with much less issues from the arthritis. I had lowered my medications. I was on 5 or 6 different medications in 2017, and by this time I was down to 1 medication. We were starting to talk about, after we got married, we were starting to talk about trying to conceive. So I had gone to my rheumatologist at the time and talked about switching to a different medication that was okay for conception. And so once I switched to that medication, unfortunately it wasn't working as well as the previous one had, which I was warned about that it probably wouldn't. So I was kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. We wanted to have kids, and I knew that I couldn't be on most of the rheumatoid arthritis medications if we were trying to have kids. And I also knew that the medication that was okay to have kids wasn't working. So I could either go back on medications that weren't okay for kids, or I could try to not be on medication at all. And so that is the path that I chose. And so I decided to stop taking my medication back in September of 2020. And so I've been 9 months medication free. And on this plant-based raw vegan diet, I've been able to much better control my symptoms and inflammation and pain and stiffness than I ever have been able to even on my medications. I'm not 100% healed yet, and I still am on my healing journey and working through joint damage and muscle loss and different things. But being on this raw vegan journey has given me so much of my life back, and I know that it has put my body in the best position to heal and to remove all of the toxins from all of the medications I've taken over all of the years, and all the bad food that I ate, and all the environmental factors. And I am so grateful for everything that this raw vegan diet has given me and my husband, and this opportunity to try to inspire others and to help motivate others and to show others that there is a way to heal yourself naturally and to allow your body to heal and to do what it's meant to do. And I hope that you hearing my journey today has given you a little bit of insight into how changing your diet can also change your life. If you ever have any questions, or if you're interested in learning more about the raw vegan diet, feel free to reach out to me on Instagram at raw.vegan.healing. I always love connecting with all of you guys and learning more about your journey and about what has led you to being more interested in a plant-based diet. Hope you guys have a great day.